Well, 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 it's been 8 months in the making, but this Dash 8 is pretty much done. Minus a couple of small issues like the gaping hole in the fuel tank and the right FMC not working, it is pretty much completed all the way. Which means I can start working on a manual so that people can actually figure out how to fly it, because it is rather complicated. It is as realistic as I could possibly get this thing. Every single detail I could find on the actual Dash 8 is included on this, to the best abilities that I can in Stormworks. I even got the Pengu seal of approval. He's been trying to land it a bunch. He said it is easier to fly now, even though absolutely not a single thing revolving around how it flies, its flight characteristics, has changed. So I'm just going to kind of do like a little overview of everything on this plane, kind of, and we will take off. We might not land. I don't have all the speeds and stuff down for it, as well as it requires infinite fuel right now, which is a little bit of an issue because that changes its speeds and stuff. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's the only issue here. So we got our cargo door. Nothing's changed about that. Exact same. We can go ahead and close that. I've got a bunch of past videos and stuff going over actually working on this, and kind of the steps that I've gone and what I've finished and what I haven't. There's the button hidden down there. Go ahead and crawl on up, close that little jump seat and all of that. The nice little seating. So for the actual first flight, right before it goes out on the workshop, I'm thinking about doing a little event where we go and fly around with everybody in the back, and you can actually get like tickets and stuff like that. So that might be kind of interesting. We got a little landing gear door here, so we can actually change if we do alternate gear drop, or if we do alternate doors. So that's kind of fun. So you can, if you want to know what that does, the gear basically just opens up all of the gear doors for everything, which is incredibly useful if the gear gets caught or anything. And alternate gear basically just drops the gear right away. So that's pretty useful. Go ahead and close that. We don't tend to need that as often. There's a button right over here which does alternate gear. So if you're in the case where your landing gear gets stuck while it's trying to extend, and you're starting to pitch over or whatever, you can just go tick, and then all of those doors open up really nicely, or at least they should. It might need power actually to work. But yeah, that can save you for that. So what we have to do whenever we get the aircraft, it is dark. We got to do battery master and battery main. So that gets all of our DC power on. I don't know if we need the 150 volt bus tie on or not, but as you can see up here, we are going through our DC power. We've also got our aux power there, which we can flip on here, and then that starts going down and that starts going down and all of that. So we can go ahead and turn that off. We don't need external power, we don't need bus tie on or any of that, so we can go ahead and turn on some lights if we want. We got seat light and everything there, seat belt and everything there. We can go ahead and turn up the volume a little bit, turn on some lights here. We'll get dome lights on. Starting it is super easy. Get our left and right feet on. We switch our condition levers to 2, which is idle. So these are kind of like the mode that our engine is actually in. So we've got a reverser. So if we go all the way down, that sets our pitch to reverse. 1 is cutoff, which kills the engine, which is what they start at. 2 is idle. So whenever we're just sitting here not doing anything, they're just going to be generating power. Not enough to really make us move forwards. And then 3 is ground idle, G idle, which is what we use to taxi. Then we've got flight idle. That's what we go into whenever we're actually flying, just regularly. And then full is full power. So it gives you a little bit more juice, which is pretty much your toga. We have our bypass doors. They are actually there, but I don't really use them for much. I don't think they actually work with the anti-ice or anything like that. We do have our FMC working here, as well as radios and stuff like that, but that's not really as needed. So what we can do here, what I like to do, we have a sync. So whatever's on the left FMC will then be on the right, and the co-pilot can also do all of the stuff on it. So if I go over here and I press power, maybe. Oh, you know what it is? We need AC power for anything to work. So we actually do have to start up the plane, or we can get the APU. So we'll just get the APU for now. You can see we've got our warnings panel up here, so our DC and AC generators are off. So we've got the warning there. But then we should be getting power whenever this APU spools up a little bit more. There we go. So we are now getting power, and there we go. So we've got screens now. And then we can press power, and then it shows up for both. If we just have the sync off, then it just kills it, because they do have their individual stuff, and you can actually choose which FMC the autopilot is flying off of and everything like that. So this has to go through all of its loading screen. You can't do anything until it's done. The source static, that just changes a few of your things. Actually, this says it here, it's only your altitude. So in case your altitude gets messed up or anything like that, you can switch which dial it's reading off of. As you can see there, they are actually just a little bit different. So they're at just a different spot, just because the aircraft is angled, I think, forwards a little bit. We got our nose wheel steering here. We've got our hydraulics. So that is our standby hydraulics. We'll use that whenever we are taking off and landing. But whenever we're in flight, we can turn it off. It's just kind of like our backup. Here's our FMC all finished, so we can go ahead and press accept. Currently, what it does, I think, is only lets us do one. So I don't know if we need the autopilot on to do it, but this is how we actually choose which waypoint we have. So this is one of our pages. I think it's flight plan. Yeah, I think it's that. We can go to nav, and then we can see where we are coming from and where we're going to. So that'll show your final waypoint and all of that. Your waypoints also do show up on here. You can also do the EHSI switch, and that changes it. A bunch more stuff on here. This will all be in the manual because there is some more complicated stuff with it. And let's just make sure our stuff is actually going. Yep, we're still good on power. We've got all of our breakers and stuff back here which do actually work, but really you don't need to touch those. So yeah, all of our stuff here, the yellow warnings are things that don't really matter. Things like weight on wheels, APU is on, parking brake is on, nose wheel steering. Red is pretty important. We got low hydraulics, well, because we don't have the engines on, so we don't have hydraulic power, but we do have standby hydraulics, which isn't enough to power everything, but it powers it enough where you can get by. And you don't actually need hydraulics to do the roll or elevation control. You only need it for rudder. Everything else is cables, which is pretty fun. So yeah, you don't really need that, but you do need full hydraulic power to be able to use your rudder, but everything else you don't. We got a bunch of stuff here we don't really care about. More into the FMC here, we can go to messages. There's no messages. That's kind of like, I don't know, like errors and things like that, I guess, that I could put there, but I don't know. We got a bunch of fuel info, but we don't actually have the fuel plugged in here. You can see at the top here, there's a little M. If there's an M after wherever page you are, that means you can press the menu. And we've also got pages, so we can press here as next, and we can see the different things there. And we can go previous, or we can go to menu, and we can see it in different amounts. And then we can just press X if we want. If we actually press power here, you can see that we are the primary. If we go to the other one and it was working, you would be able to switch it over so that that one's the primary, and you would switch, and then it would follow those waypoints. So I can actually get 2 full path waypoints set up in both of these, and then just switch which one I'm using. You can also turn it off here, but I don't want to do that. Tune is not working. Fuel is what we were just on. Nav is that. DTO isn't a page, that's more of a button for whenever you're on your flight plan. So if we're here, what we can do is we can go and select a waypoint. So let's say that we want to come down here. To just input the waypoint, you literally just throw it in there, and as soon as it sees that the number is different, it gives you this option, and it'll tell you your X and Y. You can press accept or deny. If you press deny, it won't do it. But you do have to keep in mind that it works by seeing a different number. So I have to go in and change that waypoint now just a little bit, and then it'll give me the option again, and I can press accept. And there we have it. Then we can go on to our second one. If it has the little white bar after it, that means you're selecting it. If it's purple here, it means you aren't. And again, you can see the M there isn't working. But as soon as we go onto here, you can see the little M. So we can go to menu, and we can see all of that stuff here. We can see the X, Y, the distance, and all of that. I can delete it if I want. I can also come over here and press DTO. And now if I switch off of that, you'll see that it's like a bluish white now. We can go into menu, and you can see DTO there as well, so that's direct to. So if I'm later down and I just want to go to my like 9th waypoint or anything, I can tap it and press DTO. I can also tap it to get rid of it, and then that will take you directly to that waypoint, which is incredibly useful. And you don't have to do anything else. And as you get towards the waypoints, they'll delete as you go. So I want to actually try putting another one here and see if that works with autopilot on. So we'll do that. We have our number 2 selected. Press accept, and no. So right now it's just overriding, which is a little bit of an issue, so hopefully that can get fixed. Jack is responsible for all of these screens, so amazing job for that. These all look amazing. I'm super grateful for him for taking over those. He's also the only reason that this plane is actually out right now. He did the autopilot for me, which is the last thing I had to do, and I redid it like 6 times, and it wasn't working how I wanted it to work. And so that's pretty much why this hasn't gotten anything done on it. But little things have been getting done on it, but that was the main thing holding me back, so thank you a ton for that. That helps an insane amount. Yeah, we'll get back to this. We have negative 11 liters in our fuel tanks here, so those are our fuel tanks. Auto prop feather we don't really need, and we got a bunch of stuff here which doesn't really matter. Yeah, none of that really matters right now. We can also we can mute warnings, which I do normally if I'm flying, because I know the limitations of this aircraft at this point, and I have a pretty good visual representation if it's going past that or not. We got warnings and stuff. We've also got warning tests, so you can see all of the warnings come on. That means everything's working. Obviously, we still have a lot on right now. Yeah, so we can go ahead and get this one started up and get some AC power. Our waypoint is working, it's there. Oh, we should, yeah. The left-right generators, that's how we get power to the DC and AC. Over here is the AC, this is the DC. But you need the engines on for that. The inverter is AC, so you can see it might be different. 13, no, they're different. They're not different. If you do the inverter, it's basically going off of the DC power and converting that to AC. Instead, if it's off, you are using the AC generators instead. So I can have the AC generators off and the inverter on. And if we have DC power being generated, then we will have AC power generated. So just kind of a backup. Battery monitor test, you can just see that these are all working. They should go up and down. Outside air temperature, inside, all of that. So we can go ahead and turn our APU off. We don't need that to start the engines. We have our engines in mode 2 here. Engine power is at 0, so now we have our select, so we can see engine 1, engine 2. So we want to select engine 1. Go ahead and press start. There we go. You can hear it stabilize. There we go. So there's 2. We have lost AC power, so let's go ahead and turn on that. And there we go, we have it back because we are generating electricity. We can always turn on the inverter too if we want, but that's up to you. Pangu needs it to fly apparently. He does not turn that thing off ever. So let's see. We got our fuel temperature. This is actually very important. If you got to negative 40 degrees on the fuel temperature, which does happen if you're up high and going up north or it's cold out, you will die. So you will cause a clog in the lines and you will die. So that's pretty important, so keep that in mind. So there's a lot of little things like that. Like that is a thing that you have to worry about, and all of this is like the correct temperatures and stuff that you do have to worry about, but I don't have like heaters or anything like that for that. I'm going to add a fuel heater in the search and rescue variant of this so that it can kind of go forever and not have to worry about that stuff at all. But I kind of want this one to have those limitations. We've got inlet turbine temperature, we got our oil pressures and stuff. Our oil pressure alarm is off, so we're all good. We are low on fuel, but all of our red warnings are gone now. We should have a hydraulic pressure. We can go ahead and dump some flaps in here if we want. Our flap dial is just over there, so you can eyeball it pretty good here, about half. We can go ahead and release our parking brake, and currently our up and down is only our pitch control. So you'll hear those engines spool down pretty low. Oil pressure does get an alarm just because we're going pretty slow here. I may have to change that just because, yeah, I might change that to 30. Oh, is that? Oh, that's temperature. Okay, that's pressure. There we go. So we're fine. So we can go ahead and use left, right. That is our nose wheel steering because I turned it on the left there. And they do idle pretty low whenever you're in this engine mode 1 and whatever that is, condition lever 2, but it's fine. We can go ahead and press spacebar, which is our push brakes, line up here with the side of the runway. We can just go ahead and throw that back on the parking brake, and we can go ahead and throw these up to full. We can do that right now because we have 0% throttle. If I flip those up to full right now and have full throttle, we'll gun it. But because throttle is 0, we're fine. So now down here, this is our ECU. So this is very important. So beta this is basically how our throttle is working. So beta right now means that our up-down is only controlling the pitch of the propellers, and the engine RPM is managed through all of that automatically without your input. 2 means the engine or the prop pitch is managed by my computer, and you are in control of the engine RPM with these throttles. And 3 manual means that you are in charge of the prop pitch as well as the engine RPM. So generally whenever you're flying, you only ever keep it in auto, but whenever you're taxiing or anything like that or on the ground, you keep it in 1. Just because pretty much auto will keep it at full pitch like constantly. If you're just doing your own thing, you can probably flip it to 3 if you want. Like right now, we're moving, but if I flip it over, we're fine. Because it flipped the throttle all the way to max. Because we flipped past auto there. So that's what we use for our toga pretty much whenever we're taking off. So I'm about to take off, so I'm going to take our parking brake off, and I'm going to switch us up to ECU mode 2. And there we go, we're going to take off. ECU mode 2 gives us a little bit more, or not ECU, full gives us more throttle as well. We can go ahead and pull the gear up if it gets stuck, which sometimes it does. Just nothing I can do about that really. But that worked. We're going to trim it a little bit. We're going to take it out of the full on my condition levers over here. Trim it a little bit more. You do have to trim it because it is an aircraft. And it is a realistic aircraft at that. So we're going to go ahead and bring these flaps up. I can see them going up over here. Sometimes they get stuck, but normally they're pretty good. Yeah, they dumped there. I don't know how to fix that. They're just doing that. So we've got our waypoint way over there. We've got it plugged in. There it is, that green little line. That's our waypoint. So if we come over here, we can see 1 is altitude. So that's where we are right now. So we're on 1. Our altitude right now is about 300. So we'll move up to 300. We'll do 370. We can do autopilot is on, and we can go ahead and do alt select, and we can enter that number. And now we're going to move up to whatever altitude that was, 370, so we're just about there already. There we go. So that is our altitude set. We can also do current altitude hold, which, if you go into mode 2, that's our heading. So we can change our heading, which I don't use very often. We've also got our nav, as well as our IAS and standby. So IAS is our speed. So if I turn on, oh actually nope, I don't want to do that. That's going to kill our speed right now. Hopefully we get that back up. There we go. So IAS, if I just turned that on right now, we would be at 0. So IAS is 2. So we want to go over to 2, and that sets our speed. So we'll go 137. We'll go ahead and enter that number, and then we'll press IAS. And there we are, 137. So how that works is it actually uses our pitch of our propellers and changes the pitch, like our angle of attack. And it's in control of that. So that's how you speed up and slow down. So you do have to be careful, especially if you're coming in for landing in this. Pengu always comes in with the IAS on. It doesn't bring the throttle back down afterwards, and it works by pitching the aircraft up and down to change your speed, because that's how IAS works. So as soon as you take it off, you're going to have to retrim, and it's also going to bring your throttles back up to whatever they were. But yeah, so we've got that held, we've got all of that. If we want to just steer regularly, we can go ahead and do that. You just roll to steer, no rudder or anything like that. You'll hear the bank angle alarm soon. There, that's the bank angle alarm, so it gives you plenty of warning before you're actually stalling. But you can turn like that comfortably, right there. And we're turning at a perfect angle, and everything is perfect. So that's how you do it. You only use the rudder whenever you're coming in for landing or anything like that. You do also have the differential thrust, which is really nice whenever you're actually on the ground, because you can play around, you can turn on the circle, especially whenever you have reverse thrust in one of them. But you can see our temperature also here changing. So that is based off your altitude as well as the temperature outside. We do also have icing, so if you see an alarm there, that means you're icing. You got to turn these boots on, and you can see a green light whenever they're inflated, and then they'll deflate any minute now. There you go, and they inflate. They only work whenever you have bleed air going through the systems. But that is how you fix icing, because if you do ice and you get too far into it, you will lose control of your aircraft slowly and slowly and slowly. So that's pretty bad. We can go ahead and turn on nav, and that will auto turn us over to our waypoint. And you can see it controlling our roll. just like that. And then we'll turn over to it, and you can see us lining up here. I can also change this if I want. There's our bearing. We got our ground speed, heading, all of that fun stuff. And then we'll turn over and we'll be right there. Perfect. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, really. Landing, I don't have all the speeds and stuff set, so we can go ahead and try. We'll go ahead and come down here. I'll give myself way more warning than that. So let's go ahead and come in here. Let's press that. Let's do that. We'll accept. And there we go. So we just overwrote that waypoint. And we'll go ahead and fly over there. Alright, so here we are, close enough. I'm going to go ahead and turn off IIS and nav. We'll go ahead and keep on altitude hold, but we will go ahead and go here and bring it down a little bit more. Actually, I want more than 105. We'll go ahead and select it. Not there. There. We'll go 200. Bring us down a touch. I'm going to go ahead and slow us down, because we are coming in quite quick. We'll go ahead and get some flaps extended here. We're going to go ahead and get gear down. Hope it doesn't crap out on us. It did, so we're going to go ahead and do gravity gear, which didn't work. Perfect. Go on. Hopefully this doesn't make us miss it. Okay, now lower. There we go, there's one. Alright, so I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to come over here. I'm going to do drop, drop, drop. And now that is all dropping just like that. So that's a really good way to do that if you need to. Bring us down a little bit lower. Bring our altitude hold off. Pitch us a little bit because we just changed our throttle. See what we're doing. 122 is pretty good. A little bit quick, but it's alright. We landed about 119. Our right flap is doing some funky things as well. That's just kind of storm works, which can be difficult. We are going down at a pretty good speed here. Hopefully I absolutely butter this with people watching. We'll make sure, yeah, everything is off. We'll go ahead and turn that off just in case. Keep our speed around here. Speed is the main thing that matters whenever you're landing on this thing. If you come in way too quick, you just float all the way down and then you miss it. And if you come in way too slow, you just absolutely die immediately. It's very hit or miss aircraft. You're either alive or you're very much not. But 1.8, like, yeah, if you have altitude and you're coming down and you have a controlled flare at the end, and it's alright. But if you're coming down way too slow and you try and flare, you're just gonna die. Like at probably 18, I'd want to say, you tend to not have enough lift to go up. So we're gonna go ahead and lose a little bit more there. Our speed's gonna increase a little because we're going down. We're gonna go ahead and keep going. Our altitude's a little bit low there. We're gonna go ahead and start lowering the throttle a touch. Start to flare a little bit, not too early. There we go. That was a little bit rough. Bring the throttle all the way down. There we have it. Nose is still raised up a little bit. We can just tap the brakes and bring that down. We can go into engine mode 1. We can not skid like crazy and come to a stop. Wasn't the best landing, but we're alive. It worked. Nothing broke. So we can come over here. Get a little bit closer, full throttle because I just changed this over to beta. So we want to be able to keep moving, and we're also in high, so I want to switch these down to ground idle, which is 3, as well as get our flaps all up now. If we're in anything else other than ground idle while we are in beta, we won't be getting the most out of our engine, so that's the quickest you can end up getting moving. So we're just going to go ahead and stop. There we go. Go ahead and press the parking brake. Everything is good, 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 good. Go ahead and turn off our left and right feed. Oh, also we can go all the way down to 0. There's a amount of time that it has to be held in cutoff before it actually turns off. So if we turn this off, we're in beta still, we can go ahead and full throttle. And you can see we have our 1 engine in reverse, and we have 1 going 3. And we just do a little fun circle. So we can go ahead and bring those down. You can do it with both too, but it's not as fun. And we can go ahead and bring that down to 0 or 1 and that down to 1. And then we stop, those engines are off. We lose all of our AC power, as you can see. We can go ahead and turn off battery master, our generators and all of that. Turn off our battery main and all of our lights and stuff. And there we have it. Our aircraft is dead. But we're alive. The landing gear can be a little bit weird. I don't know what's wrong with that gravity gear up on the top. Might have to look at that. We also have other things here. We have the gear pin, so that means we can't steer. We also have avionics compartment. Those are just 2 little batteries. We also have external power. But yeah, that's pretty much it actually. It's not super complicated. I tend to skim over things a little bit quicker whenever it's just me going through it because I've done it probably hundreds of times at this point. But the manual will be a lot more detailed because obviously it can be a little bit coming into this without knowing all the systems absolutely inside and out. But yeah, hopefully you guys will get it whenever it comes out. There'll be a really detailed PDF on it. Don't worry. I'm looking for as many pages as I can possibly get on that thing. I think there's also there's a refueling panel back here. There. I don't know if that works, so we're just not going to touch that because I've not run out of fuel yet. Before I started messing with it and hiding all the controllers, we had about 850 liters of fuel, and you could get up to the Arctic easy on that. So hopefully we'll have more fuel because I've started using microcontrollers and hiding them all in the fuel tanks. So hopefully I can get up to like maybe 2,000 with that, which would be absolutely amazing. You'd pretty much never run out of fuel. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end it there. Hope you guys really enjoy it. Go back and watch some of those old videos if you're interested in seeing kind of how this came to be. But yeah, we'll end it there. Thanks for watching.